Hey there, friend. Jess M Cutler here, and I am so excited that you have decided to join me today for such a special live event, and certainly one of the funnest that I have ever done. Today is actually the official kickoff for my new courses that are going to be available to aspiring and professional event planners. Elevate Your Events, the complete event planners course from concept to creation. So while people are still jumping on here, we actually decided we're going to change up how to win our awesome giveaways today. So for those of you that are going to be joining us, you still have a chance to win. So all you have to do is you're going to have to share this live and just comment your name below so that I know who you are, and then be present whenever we do the drawing. So we're going to have 3 drawings that we're going to do throughout the course of this event. And I don't think we've even said what they are. So I'm going to tell you what they are. So the first giveaway is going to be a $25, what is it? Amazon gift card. Yeah, $25 Amazon gift card. And then we have an in-crowd swag bag that's going to be basically a pop socket and a clipboard. We talked about these yesterday if you watched my little live yesterday. Your giveaway 2 is going to be a $75 Amazon gift card, the pop socket, the clipboard, and this amazing computer bag. It's awesome. Got a little thing on the side for your bottled water. And then our very last giveaway, our grand prize giveaway, is going to be a $150 Amazon gift card that's going to have all of the things that I've just shown you, plus this ring light, which is really awesome. It lights up. It has different little features, so it's really good. All right, so again, all you have to do is just share this live stream and then be present to win whenever we announce your name. Oh, I'm sorry, and put your name in the comments, so that way, in case there's some privacy sharing stuff, whatever. Well, let's get started. This is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited. Whether you have known me my entire life or maybe you're just meeting me today for the very first time, I am so honored to be able to just share my passion for planning, really just by teaching you my process on how to invent events. And I've used this slogan so many times in the almost 9 years that ENVENT, my corporate event planning company, has been in business. But what does it mean to invent an event? And even if you knew what that meant, like how the heck do you do it? So I'm going to be completely transparent with you, and I'm going to say that I've never really considered being able to design events a talent or a gift. And it really wasn't until I started exploring and trying to understand myself and my God-given gifts better that I even acknowledged that my creativity or design ability may be something that would make me unique in life, but certainly in the realm of the event planning industry. And if you're staring at the screen and you're saying like, well, Jess, I don't know what my gifts are. No worries. I can help with that too. So in the simplest of terms, gifts are the things that other people dream about doing that you can do while you're dreaming, or better yet, in your sleep. They're those skills or those talents or those tasks that you do disproportionately better than everyone else. They're those things that when you do them, like someone looks at you and they say, oh my goodness, how did you do that? I could never do that. Gifts are those actions, thoughts, or skills that come so easily to you that you almost take for granted that you can do them. And you can even get frustrated with others because it's just so easy for you. And when I use that definition with people who are in this place of self-discovery, just trying to figure out their gifts, sometimes your gifts won't still just openly present themselves to you. But what it does is that it's going to change your brain filter, and you're going to start being aware of some of those key phrases like I just mentioned, and those natural abilities that usually stems from a frustration of like, oh my gosh, why can't you just do this? This is so easy, right? Like if you're starting to feel that, maybe tap into yourself and be like, hey, maybe this is a gift. I actually used to say like anyone can design an event if they have Pinterest. That's what I used to believe. I mean, I'm really not doing anything spectacular or anything out of the ordinary, right? Everyone can design an event, but it never fails. usually, I don't know, it's usually a few weeks or months or even years later when I see that person again, they're usually able to tell me how, by realizing their gifts, that they moved into a place where they have so much more joy, they're so much more happy, because whenever you're good at something, you usually like doing it. And you usually like doing it often. And the more often you do it, the better you become. And then the better you become, people begin to take notice and they want to pay for those skills. And by aligning your gifts with your passions and understanding where that place is that you have the best opportunity to serve others, it's going to ultimately help you transition your everyday career that you have to do into your calling that you want to do. So that is just a little bonus lesson to get us started about gifts today. So, back to events, designing events. This is why you came here today. And at first, whenever I first started designing events, it wasn't anything that came naturally to me. So when many planners, when I sit down with them for the very first time and I start to teach them what I am going to be teaching you today, they usually stop me before we start and they say like, oh my gosh, like, just so you know, like I've never done this before. Of course you haven't. You didn't come out of the womb being like, I think for my first year birthday, I'd like to have like a sparkly unicorn theme. Maybe we can like put the bounce house right over there. Or maybe this little corner of the room would be perfect for the gift table. Like, no, you did not come out with this, this just natural ability to just start planning and designing events. Everyone has to start somewhere. So, I will say, for the most part, the skills that I've acquired in designing have been through trial and error, many mistakes, a sheer determination to succeed, and just having fun. I never really watched a lesson or was exposed to any training that would really help me hone those skills. I was just kind of given that opportunity to design an event in the job that I was working. I enjoyed building those skills. And the more designs I did, the more I enjoyed it, the better I became, the more people came to me and wanted to pay me for designing their events. So, you know, they weren't coming to me now just for my organizational and planning skills, but the intellectual, creative property that God gifted me to build. So, yeah, it's crazy to me. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of them, but it's like being able to take just a blank ballroom and transform it into just something different, that whenever people walk in, they're like, whoa, this does not look like a ballroom. So even when all this was kind of happening, I'll confess I still didn't really think it was a gift. But I actually think it was one of my industry friends that said, when I was thinking about closing down ENVENT during COVID, they said, you know, and it hits me right in the feels, ooh, how disappointing that would be to waste such a God-given gift of creativity and design just because I'm going through a hard time. Oh, yeah, it hurt. I won't lie. But for me, it really was just the smack in the face that I needed to fine-tune my mission statement, move back into the event space with intention, direction, and a sincere desire to offer the most personalized, customized, inventive, and truly unique event experiences available to anyone interested in the service. Anyone that wanted to invent their event. So how do I do that? Well, today it's truly unique in that I've only really ever taught this a method. I mean, I'll call it a method. It's kind of like parts of a process to my team, and only to those that have graduated past the like operations level of my business. That's usually where you start. When you start with ENVENT, you start with operating, being able to understand the ins and outs before we just jump into design. And I wish that I had time to go into all the details in every single section. But if I did, we would be here all day. And my production team said that 4 hours is the max that I can be here. So, and I just want to give a shout out and some praise, because it probably looks like I'm just sitting in front of a little camera right now, but I am not alone today here with me. I have a team, my amazing team. I have Corey with Hold Media, and he has set all this up. He's doing all this live streaming. So thank you, Corey. Thank you, Corey. And then over here, and you might hear her voice a little bit later because she's going to be helping me with the live Q&A.
Hi, guys.
So I have Ashlyn Fowler, my marketing and media manager in ENVENT. She is here, and she is helping me roll out. I say ENVENTs, but you're really the in crowd. You're like all things. So
You can't get rid of me. I'm everywhere.
I would never want to. Oh my gosh, my life would, one, it would just be sad without you, but also it would be a whole lot more work without you, so I'll never let you go. Same with you, Corey. Yeah, so here we go. I can't be here more than 4 hours. I'm just telling y'all, I have a script, and it's not because I don't know what to say, it's because I have too much to say, and if I go off script, we quite literally might be here for 4 hours. So I'm going to try to stay very focused for you today, so good luck. All right. So as we're going through all these lessons, if you have a baseline knowledge of just event elements and event enhancements, you should be able to follow pretty close, and you'll probably really enjoy just kind of seeing this sort of overall of it. But if you're just starting out in the industry, it's going to be a very brief introduction into the overall process that I super deep dive into inside the courses. So if you want to know more and I've created more questions than answers for you, then the course is definitely where you want to go. Or if you already know what you're following along and you just want to see what it looks like to deep dive into it, then definitely jump in these courses. All right, so let's do, before we get started, since we're just getting the party started, are we ready for any type of, okay, all right. So we got these couple giveaways, and here's the deal. Like, we got 3, and I'm not doing them all at the end, in case you do have to leave. We're gonna do one right now. That's a fun way to start, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, let's see, I got my little thing. Oh, okay, all right. Well, there's only like 2 in here, so, okay. So you got a 50% chance if you're in here. Y'all, just know, since the day I started this business, it has been a family business because my entire family has had to help me build it from the ground up. So it only makes sense. Now, this is going to be for the $25 Amazon gift card, and then the pop socket and the clipboard. This is going to Bethany Marshall from Myrtle Beach. So yay! Rigged. No, I'm just kidding. No. I appreciate her support, and I told anyone in all my family that if they'll just support me through this, then I'll give them the prizes. I don't care. So, but yeah, so just a reminder, if you want to be in for the drawing, then all you got to do is just share this live stream and just type your name down in the comments. So that way we know you're here, and we've got a couple more. They just get better and better. We have 2 more. So, okay. Well, let's get started. This is the fun part. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep myself on script because otherwise we could be here all day. I have so much to say. This is so much fun. This is my passion. This is going to be really the 7 Ds of design, and it's kind of like a 7-step system or a 7 parts of a process to designing epic events. So this is the fun part, right? So here's where we're going to start. This is the part that requires 0 experience in event planning that you could start today that would build your future skills exponentially, and it is step 1. It is okay. So for me, one of the coolest parts of designing events is looking out onto the horizon of your imagination and just realizing that there's only like a little ocean sail away to this new and exciting experience that you want to enjoy. So let's think about this part of the event design process kind of like taking a cruise, right? Have you ever taken a cruise? All right. Well, then you should know kind of what I'm talking about, right? So it's your first day, you just got on board, you're looking out over the horizon and it's exciting and they're playing music and they're serving drinks and like somebody's already like drunk dancing in the middle of the deck. It's crazy, right? But after a little bit, you start kind of that intentionally drifting towards your destination, and whenever you look out, there's like no land in sight. So what was at first this new and exciting thing? Once you realize you're in the middle of the ocean, it can also seem a little scary and maybe even a little overwhelming. Well, it is very much the same with event design. So Every event theme has an ocean full of options and opportunities and venues and vendors and activities and colors and textures and patterns and lighting setups and entertainment add-ons, and each option has 10 more options, and then each sub-option has 10 more options. So what may have seemed like a one-day sale when you started, it may end up becoming more of like a cross-Atlantic maiden voyage. The ocean of your options can seem so endless as you look past the horizon. And look, I'll be the first to say, I don't want to discourage this drift, because the further you drift, the more dreams you tend to have, the cooler destinations you can reach, right? You open your mind up to what an amazing event can actually include. Like things that you probably didn't even know existed when you started. And I'll just say, so for me, making this applicable, my dreaming may look different, right? It looks like taking pictures of sunsets and mountains and structures of places maybe that I've never been before. I'm forever taking pictures of like floral arrangements and pictures in hotel lobbies, just of destinations that I've never been, and I get there and they have this whole vibe going for like Hawaii. I took a lot of pictures in that lobby. I mean, for me, I'm just kind of forever in this dream state. Like I said, for me, it's fun, it's easy. I can do it all the time. Even right now, my senior events manager, she wakes up every day, and when she's drinking her coffee, she's dreaming, because she knows that this is what's going to help her as she is moving into this part of our business. So because this is the part of the process that will take you past the everyday designs that you see at every single event, this is a really important place to start. But I will say, for the sake of this lesson today, I also do a lot of my dreaming on Google and Pinterest. So I'm actually going to click over here. I'm going to give you a glimpse of my current Pinterest board. Most of the boards, see if I can get it to scroll. Yeah, most of the boards that are public to others are really just events that we've executed ourselves. So hopefully we can help like others dream. But I have many more at the bottom that are private boards that I've just used to dream inside different designs. And for the sake of walking you through each step today, we're going to focus specifically on an event that we did this last year. You can kind of see it. We're going through it. This is my 80s themed board, and we're going to be going through the design behind our 80s bodacious blowout. So you can see the specific board. It's just for 80s. I've done this theme many times. So really the piece that I pulled from this board for the event we did last year was the slinky chandelier. And you can, if you watched it, you can see that I actually dropped it in there twice, maybe even multiple times, maybe even different versions of them. I just loved the slinky chandelier. And I didn't know anyone that made it, rented it, whatever. But when I saw it, I was like, this is it. This is it. Yeah. So yeah, if I ever go back when I'm ready to like design an 80s and I go back into a board that I've already created, I've done over different dream sessions, I'll go back and I'll see what pictures I've dropped multiple times. And I'm like, okay, I clearly love this. I need to put this in the design. Okay. But while I know that it is so easy to lose sight of land, or just really where you're trying to get to in your event when you're drifting and you're dreaming of the amazing experience that you're going to create, or, you know, like the 10 other themes that now you want to create because of all the cool stuff that you're finding, don't worry, and certainly don't feel like all hope is lost. Because as you're looking out over the horizon of the possibilities that you can include in your theme, here's how we start to wake up. When you find something that you love, like I love that slinky chandelier, when you find something that you love more than anything else, and it could be anything. It could be a color swatch. It could be a linen, a pattern, a texture, a specific centerpiece, a backdrop, a band, a picture of an ocean sunset, or a picture from a hotel lobby. It might just be a cute slogan on a couch pillow, whatever it may be. Set your anchor. I say the couch pillow because we once themed an entire event. Well, I say event. It was technically a trade show booth. We once themed an entire trade show booth around a pillow design using the colors and then the slogan, coastal breeze and Christmas trees. I just thought it was the cutest slogan on that pillow. So I put that pillow as my anchor and I built everything around it. That's what I mean when I say set your anchor. Now, I swear I'm going to get out of dream pretty soon. But my husband, in the laundry list of hobbies that he does, he is actually a licensed boat captain. So I've actually spent quite a few days on a boat, or more so a catamaran, sailing around various islands in the Caribbean. And for me, one of the most interesting parts of kind of coming into harbor, seeing land again, is the anchoring process. And here's why. I just want to highlight it right here, because once you find a solid place to set your anchor, it doesn't like hold you completely still, like right over top of it and you can't move. Like that's not what an anchor does. It actually allows you to kind of drift around a certain radius of the anchor in your ocean, kind of depending on the way the wind or the current drifts. So, you have a set place that's kind of keeping you centered around where you want to be. You can still see the harbor. You're exactly where you are, but you also have this flexibility to kind of look around this limited area now of your ocean. And if the event options are your ocean, right, this is going to be helpful because now you can start narrowing down the options and the possibilities around that anchor. And that's the design piece that's going to keep you centered no matter what event elements you're looking to include. Here is my confession. This morning I woke up at 3:30 because we are designing an event in Scottsdale, Arizona. It just came to us yesterday and it's in 4 weeks. So it's one of those things that my brain decided it needed to do today. So at 3:30 I started dreaming on Pinterest, got a feel of what it's like out there in Arizona, dropped a few pictures, and then started dreaming inside some of the specific vendors that I could Google and find there in the area. And I fell in love with this brown leather stool. And once I set that anchor, then I put everything around it. And it took me, I will say, now this is step one and what we're getting ready to go into, step two, but today it took me 4 hours to really dream and then move into this next step, which is to draw. So this morning it took me 4 hours to dream and draw. And that is, y'all, that is after 16 years of being in this industry, but certainly well over 10 years of just in the design side of it. So it takes a little bit of time. And so whenever you decide you're going to do an event, give yourself some time to dream. And certainly once you've dreamed, you've set your anchor, then you want to give yourself this opportunity now to draw. And I'll put it this way. You may not know this about me, but I am not a graphic designer. Shocker. I know. But you don't have to be a graphic designer. But to be able to truly kind of visualize the elements and the options that you're anchoring your design around, you've got to be able to draw this dream in some way. And once you start drawing and you start seeing how these pieces come together, then you really start to like build this overall vision. And I'm just going to say this, there's not one right way. I have seen many different companies' inspiration boards and proposals, and so many, I mean, every single one of them is impressive. I love looking at them just to see the different ways that people put and how they draw their designs, how they put them all in their proposals. Some are more structured, some are loose, some are totally random and not really spaced out in any way that makes sense to me, but it doesn't matter because as long as you've got those pieces that you're anchoring around and you can kind of draw what you're thinking that you're going to include in the event, it all makes sense. So I am actually going to show you some examples, and these are, for me, they're just the best way that I have found is to basically drop my dream and draw it on paper here. Like I said, we're going to go through the 80s event, and I will give you a little pro tip while we're kind of looking at these. Canva can make anyone look like a graphic designer. So when I actually switched, whenever I started on Microsoft Word, and then I went to Acrobat, and then I went to Canva. Like when I really had people start designing with me, like I was like, look, I can teach you here, or I can go to Canva. And it took like one day, and they came back and they were like, oh my gosh, let's go to Canva. And Canva is amazing. So you do not have to be a graphic designer to draw. This is how we drop pictures. Like on these pages, and I'll tell you I'm sorry, I'm going to scroll through it now. But like I like to try to build these boards in the way that I feel like they would see the event. So what you're looking at right now is like the entrance, time warp tunnel. The second page there is, that's going to be their backdrop, and there's going to be the lights coming off the sides. What's going to be the gobos on the wall, and here's what their bars look like, and here's your dance floor, and then here's some, your video walls, and then boom, now we're looking at the tables, and here's our table options, and we're gonna have this awesome band that's gonna be on stage. And then the final page, I just kind of like threw together the options that were gonna be later presented in one of the further steps, but I just kind of wanted to like drop them all together on this page. So that is how I drew out my dream for the client for the 80s Bodacious blowout. And here's the thing. All you're trying to do is just show what you're dreaming, just to pick the elements that you envision coming together to build your design. So if you've anchored off of an ocean sunset, like just drop that ocean sunset in the middle of the page, and then just start dropping, drop the tables, drop the chairs. If just drop all these things around that center picture. Because if that is your anchor, I definitely encourage you to put it as a part of your drawing so that everyone can literally be on the same page. I used to write out oh my gosh, if I showed you pictures of like my older ones, you would see how far I've come. I used to write out these super long paragraphs describing in great detail like what the attendees would see first, and then they would feel, and like some clients, maybe like one, we really enjoyed that. But after working with like some of my clients, after like 3 years, some of them were like, you don't really have to write any of those paragraphs, because all I do is look at the pictures, and then I look at the price. Well, say less, because that was the moment that I realized I didn't need as many words. I just need to do a better job drawing out my dream. So, all right, so let's see. So again, there's no right way. Like if I showed you ones from where I started, they don't even pretend to look like these whatsoever. But this is very important in the process for yourself, and certainly if you're designing for someone else. I have some clients that I have worked with for 10 years. Like I literally started working with them before I even became ENVENT. And they would hand me $60,000, and they'd just be like, oh, I want a luau, make it happen. Like, please include the color blue. But it doesn't change the fact that I am still always going to do this drawing board, this vision board. We call it inspiration boards. The N. Everything's about N around here. But yes, because this design, it's going to be a visual, not just for them, but it's a visual for me of what that I'm creating for them, and then ensures that, what I'm providing for them is in line with what is their vision and what are their expectations. And this step, oh my gosh, it's such a huge time saver later in the process, because if your vision doesn't align with the clients, then you're going to spend a whole lot more time in the revision process with the clients and your vendors. So step 2, draw. Okay, now this may be the step, the one that you go, Jess, I absolutely cannot do this. I do not have the software. No, but I'm going to help with that today. So just bear with me, okay? So step 3 is diagram, which is very different from drawing. Creating a diagram. This is literally a course in and of itself. So we really can't deep dive into all the pieces here. But when I am diagramming, there's kind of like 3 S's that I'm looking for. The first being scale. It's got to be to scale. If it really does me no good if I'm trying to plan my space on a diagram that's not accurate. So my diagram's got to be to scale. Second is the setup. Like when I'm working with a diagram, I'm looking to make sure that everything that I've included in my drawings can fit and lay out nicely within that venue. And then lastly, that last S is space. Now, I don't mean space like space is the venue. I mean, this is, and I'll say, this is where I probably get a little too deep into it in the courses, but each table, each game, each element, a dance floor, the stage, any element that you place on the diagram has a function and it has a flow around it. So making sure that your diagram has the space to meet the functionality of each piece based on your entrances and your activities is super important. So it's got to be to scale, got to have the setup, and we got to have the space. So that's kind of what I'm working with when it comes to design. And here, since we're going through the 80s, this was the initial diagram that I created for the 80s event. This was just the initial look. Whenever I put out all those options, I was like, look, we can, and in her space, we could literally use every single game that I was proposing. So I made sure I showed her like what that would look like if she just looked at my proposal and was like, perfect, that looks great. And I'm not going to spend any time here. I will at least mention it in case you've never seen a diagram and you're like, what the heck am I looking at right now? In this particular one, we used rectangle tables. So those rectangles with the semicircles, those are tables and chairs. The squares where you can see, you probably can't see it great, but it's got little words like vortex tunnel, human claw, stage. I just am putting footprints in place so that way we have a placeholders. People don't think it's just like open space, because it never fails when you do a diagram. It always ends up tighter whenever you get in the space. It just never fails. And then you can even see I add like these little arrows that kind of shows how I expect for them to walk into the ballroom, just so that the client knows like how I'm setting this up, where their main entrance is. And so that helps them whenever they're looking at the drawing against the diagram. So that's it. So I love spending time diagramming event. I probably spend way more time than I should. And even when I started in the convention center with the hotel doing the space there, like it didn't even matter if it was a standard set. I did a diagram for every single space, because I knew every time that I did a diagram, there were no questions. There were 0 questions on where I wanted tables, but well, 0 questions. That's funny. The questions were like, hey, do you want this table up here? And my answer would always be, what does the diagram say? And they would say, oh, well, the table's sitting right here. And I'd be like, perfect. That's exactly where I want it. So I love spending time in a diagram. And I kind of say it's for 3 reasons. It helps me narrow down the options of what I can include, because if it does not fit, then it really doesn't make a lot of sense to price it out. But a lot of times, I like to give my clients some freedom and control over the design. So if I'm offering 10 different options of games, building a diagram and kind of looking at how it fits in the space, I can say to them like, hey, just kind of keep in mind, your space is really only going to allow us to have about 4 different games. So if you're going to want more games, we're going to have to kind of rethink the tables and how many seats and things you have. So it really educates me and helps me communicate clearly to the client, kind of what options we can include in it. The second reason is the diagram is really it is the time-saving tool that helps me get the best quote from my vendors when I'm putting together the design initially. If I just went from my drawing to trying to like skip this step and went to the next one, then I don't know really even what I'm asking the vendors for at that point. So we're going to start with this crazy quote, and then as the diagram gets built, then I'm able to fine tune it. So for me, I really like the diagram in this place just so that I'm getting the best quote up front of what I actually think is going to be what we're using for the event in itself. So yeah, I love that, because it saves me a whole lot of time as we work through revisions. And, if you're working on one event, revisions are fine. But when you're working on like 10 events, revisions take a lot of time. So you really want to try to save as many minutes as you can. And then the very last reason is the diagram is my best friend. It is my best helper on site. I've got 10 different vendors wondering where their 10 different products go. I mean, you can see it on here. Like I got one vendor for tables and chairs. I got another vendor that's putting a dance floor down. I have a different vendor that's setting the games. I have another vendor that's setting props around it. So when I have my diagram, I can just stand in front of them, and usually I have a key. It's not on here, but I usually just have a key, and they know what they're supposed to be providing. We send this in advance. We talk through it. I'll even send this in advance and highlight their areas to make sure they understand what parts and pieces are going where. But this is really on site what is going to help me be multiple places at one time. So my very, very best friend, I'm sure I've had a few events that have gone flawlessly or extremely well, but if if I didn't have a diagram, I don't know that I would be as confident as I am whenever I am going on site, because when I'm stepping on site with a timeline and an outline that is geared and ready for unforeseen revisions on site. Because if you can imagine, a lot of times, especially if you've never seen a venue before, you might get on site and realize like, oh, I can't put that there. There's a column there. So if I had to make all the decisions and troubleshoot, that would be a very tough event. So I come on site with a game plan, with my diagram. So that way, all the time that I have to spend on site is simply for troubleshooting. And if that's all I have to worry about, then that is going to make for a very fun event for me. I enjoy troubleshooting. So yes, to answer your question, I'm going to go ahead and answer it. Yes, as a professional event planner, I pay for a software that specializes in event space diagrams. I started using Meeting Matrix whenever I worked in the hotels. I transitioned to Social Tables whenever I was hired as a director of sales for the DMC. And I'll be honest, it was the first software purchase I made whenever I started ENVENT. So that is how important I consider this software and this step in the process. But if you're like, okay, look, I'm doing one event, I am not buying a software. There is no reason why I need to do that kind of diagramming. Here's your secret. If you're going to a venue, they probably have their own software and they would be happy to create a diagram for you if you just ask. Now, there are some people that don't want to make one unless they're asked. So I encourage you, just go ahead and have them make a diagram, even if it's just the simplest of set. They may hate you, but you'll love yourself for it. And you know what? Here's the deal. If you are like, hey, I'm in a backyard, I have no way to have a diagram, that is also okay. What I would like to say to you is I would just suggest going there in advance. Just do some basic measurements. Just make sure, what you're renting and you're bringing in will fit. Missing this step could really cost you a lot of precious time, which we've already talked about, but it can really cost you a lot of money too if you've got all this stuff rented and then you get to your space and it doesn't fit and you can't use it. So even if it's just as basic as measuring out your space, then it's worth it. And in the courses, I go into it a whole lot more in depth, and we talk about how you can even guess that stuff. I know lots. I have done carnivals in the middle of fields, and we've done Google drops, and there's just lots of ways that you can get a really good space layout, a diagram. So it's just super important to me because it's what's going to lead you into what is our next step. Hey, I'm sure you're ready to move on. Our next step are the details. And realistically, kind of step 4, step 5, they kind of really will hold hands in this next process, but we're just going to talk about these real briefly. So step 4 is the details. Step 5 is going to be the dollars. We'll get to that. But what do I mean when I say detailing the event? Well, you've dreamed it. You've drawn it out. You have now diagrammed it and tentatively laid out all the pieces in the venue. So now it's time to figure out exactly how much you need of everything. I thought about it. I was like, man, I wish I could put out an inspiration board just with like a $60,000 price tag without any details. Like I don't have to do my paragraphs anymore, but without any details. But I don't think my clients would go for that. maybe like one or two that's like worked with me forever and they're like, she's fine. But I feel like even their bosses would be like, yeah, but what are we going to get with those pictures? So details are going to be super important. Details are going to break down all the pieces of your drawing in a way that just clearly communicates what you intend to deliver or what the host or the client should expect. I'll just say it this way. They may see your drawing, your inspiration board, and they may love this picture of a pattern linen that, you've included and you intend to have, sporadically on maybe, 3 or 4 tables just to get that pattern in there, but their budget's not going to allow for you to have it on all the tables. So, you've got that picture on there. But if you don't have the details that state how many exactly you're providing, then you could run into the problem of the client, walking up to you on site and being like, oh, I thought this linen was going to be on every table. Or, oh, like if you don't put your timeline, like, oh, I thought the photo booth was going to be set up the entire event. That's why you have to detail. If you have it detailed out in your design, what everything includes, then there should be no miscommunication or surprises on site. And trust me, as an event planner, we don't like surprises. Neither does the client. Nobody likes surprises on site. So with your details, they're going to hold you accountable to your vision, and they're going to help you create a successful partnership between you and your client. So what do I mean about detail pages? Let's just take a little look. And it's tiny, so you probably can't read them, and that's fine because this is a general gist. You can see, like, you saw the drawing pages, and now you're looking at all these little detail pages. I love bullets. Bullets are wonderful because they also help me to kind of show like what's going to fall underneath each piece. And for me, I probably give way more than necessary, but this is the only way that I'm really going to remember what I've decided to include in each part of it. So yeah, if you, I think here we go. I zoomed a little bit, so maybe we can read it a little bit. So like when I talked about the intro hallway entrance, and I'm talking about the time warp entrance, it's like, here's what's going to be in there. Here's our draped. Here's the dimensions of it. Like I am a dimension person. I like for the client to understand if it's 12 foot high, like I'm not just like putting it around the doorway, like it's going well over the door. So I just kind of break down into each category there, what's going to be in each look. So why is that important? Because guess what? The details are going to take us to, which is step 5, the dollars. This is what everybody wants to know about. I love it. I really love it whenever people ask me, or they call me and they'll say like, oh, yeah, I want to do a Western theme for 300 people, and we want to do a bandana design. How much do you think that'll cost me? And I'm like, well, I'm going to need a little more information. Or it's those people that kind of come outside of the industry that say, you know what, you should really list your price ranges on your designs. Can you see this face? If you're watching, can you see this face? Yeah, trust me. If it were that easy, I would absolutely do that. But here's the truth. A carnival for 50 people could be less, or it could be more than a carnival for 500 people, just depending on what details and what elements or enhancements are included in the event design. I have done many 80s themed events, and I can tell you every one of them has had very different amounts of people, and they've had very different amounts of money. And the one that we're working through today, yeah, it was probably more expensive than all the other ones combined, and probably had the least amount of people. So I would love to just be like, oh, here's kind of what it's going to cost you. But the reality is that's not a reality. It's just not. And so I've given up. If anytime I've tried to explain it to someone that, the vendors, they price out their stuff, and sometimes it's based on, its availability and whatever else. But when I have just wasted way too much time trying to explain it to other people. So when people say it to me now, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I'll think about that. I'll remember it. But it's just not a reality. So putting out dollars is, now obviously if you are planning an event for yourself, it can be very easy because you're just getting quotes from people. But if you're working in a design and you're delivering a design for someone else, this is tough just because, there are taxes and there's fees and labor and deliveries for each vendor, and then certain items, but not for others, and then also for certain areas. So when you start trying to line out everything, especially on these larger designs, like it would be impossible. Like I don't actually think that you could do it. I think it would be kind of limiting to the overall creation. But now if it's something easy like games or entertainment options, like those are super easy to price out by line. And even if you're doing a very simple design where you're just maybe given a couple options of linens, maybe a couple options of a centerpiece, then you could absolutely just put that out line by line. Like here's one of the pages from the proposal that we're giving her the game options. You can see it. This is, I'm laying them out like line by line. But if you think back to what were those detail pages, how I kind of had them grouped into little areas, when I'm talking about, putting things together in packages, that's kind of what I'm talking about. So, and the reason why I do that is because if I tried to list it all out line by line, then, when I'm designing, let's call it an entrance look. If I'm designing an entrance look, a lot of times I am, I'm going to really pull some linens. I'm going to use product from other decor elements, maybe the centerpieces. I'm going to make it all make sense. And so if I just handed a line item price sheet to a client and they start trying to cut things here and there, and then they go, oh, but I love your entrance. Don't change anything about it. Well, you've just cut half my entrance out. Like, what do you mean? So yeah, I in my heart, whenever I'm being hired as an event designer, I recognize that I was not hired as a rental company. And a rental company is where you call and you get things one by one. When they're calling me, they are asking me to do that work for them and design that. So I want them to be able to look at this wow feature in an event and know what that wow is going to cost them versus trying to make them go through all these little pieces line by line and trying to figure out what that look would cost if they put it all together. So I call it package pricing. It helps me just to kind of present complete looks within the overall design, and it helps the client see, what areas are costing more, it's costing less. And with this type of site, they can usually start to give me a little more direction into where they see value and where they're kind of feeling like they're getting their bang for their buck, right? And sometimes they freak out when they see like the cost of tables and they're like, I cannot spend that much money on tables. Totally fine. I will say, like, what I will do is I will encourage them just to go into the design and, tell me, what areas they really love, what do they not like, what could they live with, what could they live without. I kind of get them just to talk it through with me. And then that way, if they go, well, I really like the entrance. I wish it could be a little less money. I could get rid of some of these extra props or whatever. Then they give me sort of that freedom to go back into the pricing and see like, okay, well, I got a discounted price on all these linens. So if I cut 3 of those linens, now I'm gonna have to pay full price for all of them and I'm not gonna be able to deliver the same design. So I just basically, ask them to kind of give me feedback. And with the feedback, I'll go back into this sort of section and put together their dollars in a way that makes sense to them and still gives them the best wow look. So I wanna keep that design intact while staying with budget. And so this is really going to move us into our next step. Step 6 seems pretty simple, but these are the decisions. And this is usually the part in the process where all of my hopes and dreams get dashed. Really, to like see a client cut what I feel is a crucial component of the design. It literally breaks my heart sometimes. There's still some design cuts. Ashlyn can attest to this. There's still some design cuts that like I still talk about to this day. We're
literally daily.
And I actually included it on this one so that you can see the one that broke my heart the most. And it was here with the Totally Bodacious blowout. I hope, Veronica, I hope you're watching because I cry daily over this. I tried so hard to get her to spring for this vortex time warp tunnel so that I could transport their attendees back in time to the 80s. Like a literal like swirling tunnel, like what you would walk through at a fair. But after all the details and the dollars came in, she just couldn't see the bang for the buck, and I don't blame her. But still, I complain to this day because it would have been such an epic entrance.
I also bring it up every day.
It would have been such a great design element. And you can see it, so we're going to walk through a couple of those slides in a minute. That's going to be the initial and the final design. But, this is really where you have to separate your passion from your profession because at the end of the day, all that really matters is that the decision maker is happy. And the final decisions must be made and approved by the person most affected by the dollars, and that is your host or your client. I like to tell clients that they're only limited by their imagination and their budget. You'll never see me going small in the beginning. I'm always going to go bigger. I warn them, because if they tell me their budget's, $15,000, I will say to them, like, hey, I'm going to give you options up to about $20,000, $25,000, just because I kind of want you to see and be able to have the creative flexibility to tell me what you like and what you don't like. I am always going to go bigger. And even if I know the budget is a set budget. But I just, just in case their event's being limited by their imagination and not their budget, I never want a client to come back to me and be like, oh, is that all you can do? Is there something more? Like, that has happened, and it does not feel good. And really, once you've like dreamed a design and you've kind of like put your exclamation point on it, it's kind of hard to go back in and add up. It's a whole lot easier, I find, to cut down. Unless it was the 80s event and I didn't want to cut anything out of the initial design, even though I knew that I had to, because I was like $50,000 over budget. So, so that one hurt my heart a lot. But here we go. I just so we can walk through it so you can kind of see what it is. I've got these little slides of like what the initial page looked like in the proposal to where the final looked like. So let me just flip over here to this. So you can see we got rid of the time warp tunnel, and we did this like kind of last minute. So the picture I dropped in there and we talked about was we actually created, and you'll see it a little bit later, we created an entrance that had a graffiti hand-painted backdrop on it. On this page, she loved the band. We did not cut the band. She loved the slinky chandeliers. What we cut in this one was you can see them, the white tables and the stools. They were very expensive. And so we leaned into that sort of metal accent, and we went with a crinkle taffeta silver chrome looking table. It actually looked extremely nice. And thank goodness for Jess, because I couldn't let go of anything. So I had to call in my team and I had to let them tell me where they thought I could cut things. Y'all, I take designing very seriously. And then this one, you can see what I had tossed out was doing 2 different LED video walls on each side of the screen. And then we were going to do like an LED bar at the very bottom of the screen. I thought that was really cool. That was also very expensive. So in the final design, we obviously stayed with the LED screen that's down there in the left-hand corner, but we took it off the stage and we took away the one in the front of the stage. This one right here on that initial design, we had like the human claw. We had a pool table. We had a lot of other little things. So that final design, we really just kind of got rid of and she didn't cut a whole lot in the game department, but we just kind of got rid of those. So that's what it looks like. And then here's just a picture of the diagram. You can see kind of where we started. I had my vortex tunnel and my human claw and skee ball and all those things on the left side. And then when it all came out there at the very end, you can see it didn't have all that fun jazz in it, but it stayed very much the same. So you can understand why, for me, I like to go ahead and start diagramming when I start in the very beginning, just because for me, it doesn't change much because I'm starting with a really good spot. We're seeing what it looks like in the space. I'm getting a solid price from my vendors up front. Yeah. And I think it's fair to mention, that while this step is step 6, in our 7-part process here, here's the reality. As you can imagine, this process usually always requires revisions. So hopefully you started working off a solid inspiration design, and it's just a matter of like a few tweaks to get everything they want in the budget, or just kind of putting that final total on all the options that they want to include instead of a total redesign. But either way, once decisions are made, this means you may have to start back over at step 2. Or if it's total redesign, you may have to start back over on step 1 and do it again until all decisions are made and final and you are ready to move in to the last and final step of this process, which we're going to do in 1 second. But, whew, I just want to take a breath. Should we do a giveaway?
I think we should.
I think we should do a giveaway. So before we finish this guy out in the step 7, we're going to do the second giveaway. So this is going to be, let me make sure I say it right. We have the $75 Amazon gift card. We get, I'm going to have to go through it all again, aren't I? Because it's been so long. This amazing little pop socket, which has a little car mount on it. You get the clipboard, which we talked about. I feel like Vanna White. Oh. You get the computer bag. This thing, it's huge. You can fit so much stuff in it. It's really wonderful. And what am I forgetting, Ashlyn?
I don't think you're forgetting anything.
Is that it?
Oh,
this was what we added on.
Coupon code.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I didn't even say it on the first one. This is the whole reason we're here.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the first one because your sister just texted me. And she wants you to put her prize back in the running.
Aw, sis. Such a giver. Okay, cool. So, okay, good. Yay. All right. So let's go ahead and draw for that one first. So this one's good since I already started here. So this is $75 Amazon gift card and all the little goodies and $50 off the Informs Elevate Your Event course, which all the giveaways will have that today because I totally forgot to mention that earlier. So let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. You must be present to win. So if I call your name and you're here, you just need to DM us so that way we can tell you what information that we are going to need from you to be able to get you all this cool stuff. So, dun, 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 dun. Samuel Roberts from New York City. Woo-hoo! Okay, Samuel, send us a DM.
DM us, Sam.
DM us. Okay, so we're gonna go back because my sister's a giver.
Why don't we do the Q&A next, and then we'll do another drawing in just a second.
This is why I keep her around. You know, as organized as I am, I need an entire village to actually keep me somewhat sane and certainly organized. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. What?
Perfect. People DM'd us some questions.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so wait, no, we're not ready for Q&A. I started to do step 7.
Oh, okay. Go off.
Now she's just getting excited. I just looked down and I was like, oh, wait, we're going to deliver. Okay, wait. All right, so before.
Okay.
Yay, I'm so excited. We have questions. This is so exciting. Okay, I'm going to get jazzed up while we walk through this because I'm really going to, I'm excited. I don't really have to say a whole lot in this one. I'm going to take a little break and drink some water because we are going to go to step 7. Here's the last step in it, and it's delivery. And I really do not have the time of the day to go through all the parts and pieces of this particular puzzle. In the courses, the design is a module in and of itself, and the operations is a separate module altogether. There's a lot, you can imagine, that goes into a seamless delivery of an incredible event design. But this, to me, the reason why I included it in this lesson is because if you never deliver the design, it just simply remains pictures and words on paper. And I'll say this, even though I do feel like I have the gift that God has given me in event design, I am an operations girl to the core. It's where I started. It's what I love. It's so hard to not be in all the operations stuff just because I enjoy it so much. But I will say these skills that you need in this part of the process is very different than what you're using pretty much throughout all these other steps. But for me, there's nothing that I love more than putting all the pieces together, problem solving, planning it. I call it planning it down to the T-pin. If you don't know what a T-pin is, then you really need to take the course. And stepping on site and orchestrating this grand production. And, I feel like a lot of people say this, but well, I love seeing everything come together just the way that I envisioned it in my mind. For me, in case this is one of the questions, but I'm going to say it anyways. My favorite moment is whenever the doors open. I like to stand near the main entrance as people are walking in and hear their immediate feedback. I mean, I guess it could be bad, but I'm hoping that it's not. This to me, those are their truest, most initial thoughts. And, you can imagine when people call me a lot of times, what they tell me they want is, they want an event, they want a wow event. They want a wow event. They want their event, people to walk in and say, wow. That moment for me, whenever people walk in the door, that's how I know whether or not I succeeded in delivering and designing a wow-worthy and epic event. My favorite, if you've ever seen any of our stuff, when we did Wonderland in our video, people walked in, it was like their phones were up. To me, it's it's not, I love seeing it all come together, and I know that for so many people are like, oh, that's my favorite part of it. But for me, it's I want people to say wow that's when I know that I have delivered that to the client. Can we do a giveaway and then do Q&A and then we'll do a giveaway? Okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw for the very first one, which was a $25 Amazon gift card, all the cool swag that I just said. Well, not all of it. It's the pop socket and the clipboard. And then $50 off the Informs course. Okay, let's go. Oh, okay, this one looks good. And the winner is Jess Hamlin from Philly. Oh, yay. All right, so DM us so that way we can get your information. All right. Okay, let's go Q&As. Wait, this is, let me just make sure. Yep. Yes, I'm ready. All right, hit me with them. What you got?
Perfect. Well, we might have to make this a quick Q&A because we are at the 1 hour mark. So
hey, what I heard is that's not 4 hours. So you're welcome. They were worried that I wasn't going to be over 15 minutes. I was like,
I wasn't that worried.
0. I'm like, oh guys, I got 15 minutes. Okay, so sorry. Yes, I will answer quickly and specifically.
Okay. Question number 1. When you do this method, do you do them in this order every time or do you mix them up?
That is a very good question. I would say most times this is my standard. And especially when I started, this was what I really went for. But it just depends on what I anchor on. Because sometimes if I anchor on something that's really big, then I might actually just drop it in the diagram first to kind of see what other options I need to include. But no, I mix it up. This is probably standard, but I do mix it up. Definitely. So I call it a step process, but it's kind of like I went through the parts of the process. So if it's easier for you to like start diagramming before you draw, then by all means, like you do you, boo.
Perfect. Well, how long does it typically take you to design an event?
Oof. That depends. It depends on if I've ever designed the theme before, because, like I said, with this 80s, I had already created a design board that I had made for a few other ones, so I just kind of went off that. So it just depends on, because I call designing event from starting in the dream state, and then, of course, to the very end. So, are you talking about initial design? Or are we talking about revisions? Let's just talk initial design.
Initial.
Okay, so initial design. The larger events, I would say, probably take me anywhere from 25 to 55 hours. And I'm also talking to vendors and getting pricing. Like this whole process to get them the initial one. And if it's a tiny event, we're talking under $10,000. Like start to finish, we're probably like at 8 to 10 hours. So it doesn't have to be a complex. But I do this for a living, so it's one of those where it's like I do have the time to spend. I know that's not a luxury some people have when you're planning events, but.
Okay. What is the most difficult event you have designed so far? I know the answer to this one.
Oh, the most difficult. It was definitely, it's kind of between two, but I'm going to say it was the Around the World theme. And I only say that because in one ballroom space, we literally had to put 6 different looks. So it was like designing 6 different events in one space, but having to design it in a way that each of them looked unique and individual, but they all also looked cohesive together. So that one was probably the most difficult. Although Wonderland was also very difficult just because it was such a hodgepodge of everything. But I will stick with my initial answer of international event.
Perfect. All right. And in your opinion, what is the most difficult part of the process?
Each part has its own level of difficulty. And I certainly think that depending on where you are in your passion or your profession of planning may actually dictate which part of the process is the hardest. I will probably go with the hardest part for me. Funnest part would be diagramming. Hardest part would be somewhere between the details and the dollars. Definitely. Just because they're kind of one in the same, but trying to figure out what the details are to be able to get the exact dollars and then making sure that I don't mess up the dollars because there's so many parts and pieces. So it's somewhere between step 4 and step 5 there, the details and the dollars.
All right, last one. You may have touched on it briefly, but what is your favorite event that you have ever designed?
Oh, my favorite event. The 20s. The 20s themed event. We actually started it in 2020. When the client called, it was before COVID, and we were going to do a 20s themed event in August of that year. And COVID said no. So I had 2 years. 20, I don't know. You know how time just disappeared over COVID. I had about 2 years to work on that design. So when it was time to finally like put it together and see it come to life, like that one was by far my favorite.
Awesome.
Is that it?
That is it.
All right. Well, if you have any other questions, even about the courses, I will say the cart does close tonight at midnight. So all the bonuses that we've talked about, the 2 one-hour Q&A sessions, the 2 one-hour office hours, the intake form, all the bonuses that we have mentioned, they end tonight at midnight, and the cart will close. So you will not be able to purchase the courses once the cart closes, but you will be able to put your names on a course wait list that will then open back up later this year. So don't miss this initial opportunity to go through these courses with me together. I am very, very excited for it. Last giveaway?
You thinking what I'm thinking?
Thinking what you're thinking.
Let's do it.
Okay. So this is going to be for the $150 Amazon gift card. And let's go through. Pop socket. Clipboard. Computer bag. This is like a game. It's like the 12 Days of Christmas. And then
Right in front of you.
there is right in front of me. Oh, I love this little guy. This is a ring light. You put it on your computer and it has like a little thing that pulls down. It can be like a webcam cover, but it's got lights. It's got different settings, right? Ooh. Okay, so you're gonna get all this plus $50 off the Informs course. So, here, you draw it. I've had so much pressure on me.
Ooh, okay.
You draw it.
I don't like this pressure.
Oh!
Ooh, you might have to help me with this. Deborah Safley from Harmony.
Oh, yay! So if you're on here, send us a DM. That way we can get your information, and then we can get you all of the goodies. So, woo! All right, 1 hour mark, and you're welcome. Bethany's probably like, oh, no, we're in an hour and a half now. It's fine. So sorry, I have so much to say, and it really gives a good glimpse into why these courses were so important for me to try to lay out just a little. I mean, oh, good grief, I don't even go into everything in the courses. I understand that event planning can be extremely difficult. I understand that it can be extremely fun. And I think just being able to navigate and go through these courses at your own speed and be able to ask questions and be able to see some of this stuff instead of having to learn it the hard way every single time. Spoken from someone who has done it that way. I know that I have poured my heart into trying to put together the most comprehensive course that will really teach you everything to get you started truly from concept to creation, plus some bonus tips and tricks. I mean, I literally go into like my lifestyle. I teach about time budget and how to make a task tracking system and things like that. So I am trying so hard to figure out how to make this just easier for you, because event planning can be easy. Ashlyn says no, it can be easy, but it's definitely fun. And I just want to be able to share my passion for planning with you and hopefully just help you understand what it feels like to have that true heart of hospitality in the event industry. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, for listening to me, and just for participating in the giveaways and being such an encouragement and a support to me. So thank you. Can't wait to see how you elevate your events this next year.